Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with Romanian-born jazz pianist and composer Lucian. He was born in Romania, attended the Bucharest Music Academy before moving on to New York in 1999 to attend the New School University to pursue that jazz dream of his. He's on the heels of his latest 2016 CD, Songs from Afar, and of his American debut recording, Somethin Holy, that got 4 stars by the AllMusic Guide, is any indicator he's got a bead on things. So get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Hey, thank you for taking a minute out, getting back with me. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Same here, Joe. A pleasure.
What I want to do is I want to kind of start off with a combo question here. I want to ask what's been going on lately, and I know you have your new 2016 CD, Songs from Afar. So talk to me a little bit about your activity lately in this new album.
Songs from Afar, it's the second album for my quartet Elevation. And the first one was a live album recorded in New York at Cornelius Cafe. And that was a quartet straight up, which is formed and with modeled on the classic quartet, saxophone, bass, and drums. And I'm, elated that I had the chance to do this quartet with some of the best cats around. Abraham Burton on tenor, John Bear on bass, and Eric McPherson on drums. But for this album, Songs from Afar, we actually have 2 guests, an older collaborator of mine, Matt Maneri, the violist, and we have a guest on 3 tunes, traditional folk singer from Transylvania, which is the area I am originally from. So the whole album has the genesis of the album. It's fascinating in a way because I never planned to do these folk songs with a quartet. So what happened is that we were on tour in Europe. We pretty much do every year a tour in Europe with Elevation. And we ended up at this place in Transylvania where I haven't really played before. We played there. It was wonderful. It was the last gig of the tour, and the promoter took us to dinner. And his daughter was quite young, like 10 or 12 years, encouraged her father to sing for us. So the moment he started singing, we all stopped eating because he was amazing. He was really unique, playing some songs that I never heard, even though I grew up in the area. It was sort of decided on the spot. Abraham Burton said, "Lush, we have to do something with my man Gabriel here." And that's how he ended up on the album. So he recorded a bunch of songs a cappella. He sent them to us. And then we went into the studio and we actually arranged and orchestrated the songs with his voice in the studio.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, it is an amazing story because it was never planned. But the guy singing was so strong and the music was so powerful that we knew we wanted to do something. And lo and behold, it was a good call because everybody seemed to love these things with a singer. So and it was nice that we got amazing review. Can only be happy. The Downbeat gave it 5 stars and best album of the year. So we've been touring with that. And I've been touring constantly since then with Matt Maneri, with whom I recorded for ECM Records. We just played, I can't even remember. The last one was in Jerusalem. We played the Jerusalem Jazz Festival, and then before that we were in United States, actually. We did a cross-country tour from Chicago, Toronto, then we went all the way to the West Coast, and we did LA, San Francisco. We played Earshot in Seattle. We went to Vancouver, but we also did some smaller cities, which I love to do those places. We played Bakersfield, we played Fresno, and it was amazing, And we're actually getting ready for another tour with Matt in fall. This time in the south and southwestern part of the states, Louisiana, Arizona. We're trying to see if we can do Utah. And there's an album coming out on Clean Feed Records in May with Matt Maneri, myself, and the legendary British saxophonist Evan Parker.
Right on. Well, the beauty of this story, too, is that you went home to where you grew up, and that's the next question that I have for you. What was it like to grow up in Romania, and how did you get involved with jazz?
I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I grew up in my grandparents' village on my mother's side. It was a really unique experience because you don't have that chance anymore so often because times are changing so much and everything, is becoming less rural, to put it this way, even in Romania. When I grew up, it was a village with a very close-knit community with traditions. I used to sing for the holidays, go from house to house, for the Christmas, for the Easter, and it was paradise. What can I tell you? The world outside of that is not paradise. I can definitely say that now, as we can see what's going on. So, but my parents lived in the major city in Transylvania, in Cluj, and obviously when the time was for me to start school, I went to Cluj, and I went to school there, and it was later when I was in high school that I started to discover jazz through a local pianist and jazz collector and a brilliant person that was my first teacher, to put it this way. And he was the one who introduced me. The first guy that I actually fell in love with and still is a big influence was the South African pianist Abdullah Ibrahim, Dola Brand, as they used to call him. And immediately from that, I was introduced to Monk. I remember going every weekend to meet to a sort of a lesson with this person who still lives now. He's in his 90s almost. And it was like a school for me. He would take me from Monk to Bud Powell, from Bud Powell back to Earl Hines, and on to Andrew Hill, who became another influence on me, and then to Paul Bley. And that was my sort of my mentoring in my home country.
So after you went to Bucharest Music Academy in the mid-'90s, you go to New York in 1999. Was it kind of a culture shock for you to move to the United States and to go to such a big city like New York?
The short answer, yes. It was actually a big culture shock. I remember, everything was so overwhelming. The city, even though Bucharest is a metropolis, it's nothing compared to New York. And I went to Music Academy in Bucharest, and I started performing, and I had 2 albums released there. But I always dreamed to come to New York for this. So I came to New School to study at New School. I remember pretty much deciding I'm moving to America. So I sold my inherited little apartment that I had in Bucharest and moved to New York. And it was intense because I went to New School, and my classmates were you probably know these people, Robert Glasper, Strickland Brothers. So I remember the first time I went to school, this was actually maybe you could say that it was not bad luck, but the first group that I heard, listening through the door of a practice room was this group with Robert Glasper on piano, the Strickland Brothers, and some other guys. And I remember looking and listening, and I said, "What did I do?" But this is the level? I did not know who they were. Even at that time, they were working professionally. But I remember saying to myself, if this is the level, I'm in trouble. but then, I had amazing professors. I studied with Junior Mans, Phil Markowitz, Robert Sadin, and I slowly but surely found my way. And the person that actually introduced me to the New York scene was this great baritone saxophone player from Detroit, Alex Harding. And we're getting ready to go to in Europe in June. he was amazing for me because he. I started working with him, and I started meeting a lot of people. I met through him Sam Newsom, Bob Stewart, Bruce Williams, J.D. Allen, all Reggie Nicholson, Art Baron, all people that were professional and they were working, and some of them much older. And I had a lot to learn from them. And actually, Alex Harding was the musician that I did my first album in the States. I did a duet with him. And then I did a quintet, and then I did a two-up project with him featuring Bob Stewart. And actually, my first album with a group, with a quintet, featured on drums Damien Reed, who at the time we were all classmates at New School, and who's now Robert Glasper drummer, as you might know, in his trio. That's how it started for me here in New York, and it was definitely, and it's still a learning and living experience. There's no place to experience jazz better than America and then New York.
So that debut album with Alex, Somethin Holy, got 4 stars by the AllMusic guy. You've talked about all these people you've played with. You've had a lot of really strong albums over your career. How do you feel about your career up to this point?
Wow. I feel lucky that I get to do what I do. I'm still developing projects and playing with amazing people. I just played a quartet date with Matt Maneri, Johnny Randy Peterson last Saturday at Cornelia Cafe. I had a chance to do some amazing projects and albums. So I feel lucky that I get to do this. And I feel lucky that I was able to do this. Of course, it's not easy. You know, it's not a ride in the park, as we know. Jazz is such a niche thing, even here, or maybe especially here. But I wanted to move here, and because of jazz. So this is what I wanted to do. And after graduating from school, I stayed, and I got an artist visa, and then I got a green card, and then I'm an American citizen. So in that respect, I sort of, in a way, got what I wanted to do when I left Bucharest, which was I want to move to New York and deal with this music.
Right on, and you dealt with it very well. And the one thing I do want to know, you mentioned albums that influenced you in the beginning that you listened to, from Monk to Bud Powell and on down the line. But personally, who do you consider your jazz heroes? Who are some musicians that really had a profound impact on you and how you play?
Well, I would have to say that the most direct impact on me were the people that I played the most with, because the shared experience and the direct experience of playing with all these people is unlike anything else that you list off of records. So if we say this, then I would say that the people that influenced me the most were cats like Monk, Dola Brand. Paul Bley is a huge influence on me. Andrew Hill, who I got to know a little, as Paul Bley, of course. And, of course, all the great ones. I mean, I'm not even going to, from Miles Coltrane, but as pianists, these are the people that were and still are a big influence on me, and I still refer to them. I'm still amazed at their powerful voice and contribution. I still try to measure up. It's far.
Well, let me ask you this kind of in a generic way. Why do you love jazz?
Wow. I would have to say that if I can, it is because it allowed me to express myself. I could never stay close to the score or to the musical part. I would always make up stuff. I don't know of any other music that allows you to be yourself so much as this music. And I think this is what makes it universal in a way. And there's no other genre in the history of the music that puts such a, I don't even know what's the correct word, I don't know if prize is the right word, on finding your own voice within the tradition, but finding your own voice. I remember studying with Junior Mance and telling him, I need to learn more to play like Bad Powell. I need to do this more. How do I do this? And he said, Lucian, we can spend the whole semester here try to approach this, but you already have something that's yours. And he said, I would investigate that more and use what you already know and find your own voice. So that was a very valuable lesson for me.
And speaking of finding your voice is actually very clear in the jazz world. You played for a lot of people over the years. You've had a lot of music released. When you think about the fans that have had reactions to your music, what's one reaction or compliment that you got that you really remember?
Oh, the one that is actually very close to me because it's so sweet but powerful at the same time. I'm honored that people love what I do, and I feel lucky, and that there's amazing reviews and audiences do react. Like I remember playing in Bakersfield and playing with Man Maneri and playing with piano and viola, and this is not your most accessible thing that we do. And people came after the concert to us to tell them how much they love it, and how much it touched them. So this is always very grateful and special. But I remember this, I think this happened like 10 years or even more. I was playing in New Jersey in Montclair in a club that doesn't exist anymore, that was run by a drummer, Cecil Brooks III, and the club was called Cecil's. So I remember I played there with Alex Harding, and I think it was Nasheed Waits, and maybe Brad Jones on bass, and we played one set. And in the break, there was a group of older African American women, and they were very elegant dressed, and they were clearly very anchored in the community, in the African American community in Montclair. And this one lady came to us. I was with Alex, and said, "Son, I really like your piano playing. You have the blues. You must be from the South." And Alex started laughing. And he said, "What South, ma'am? He's not even from America. He's from a country from Eastern Europe, from Romania." And she looked at me. She looked at Alex. I don't think she knew where Romania was, but she said, "He must be from the south of Romania."
That's funny.
Yes, that was really funny. So
that is awesome.
So yeah, that was, So I think I will always remember that compliment.
I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Because it was genuine. This was no jazz critic. This was no sophisticated fan of the music, but I'm sure she was sophisticated in many ways. But this is what she felt, and as Paul Bley said, and many other people, you get to jazz through blues. So if you can play the blues, you're closer to the spirit of this music.
Absolutely. So I want to kind of funnel everything down to the essence of who you are, and this is my final question for you. Everyone has a version of who you are, your family, your friends, those that buy your music and see you perform live. But when you go out into the world every day, who do you think you are?
Wow. I consider myself, I strive actually. I strive to be a musician that plays this music as best as he can and still retain who he is. I realize that I'm not I'm not an American, but this music gave me so much. And I am an American pianist of, Romanian origin, living in New York, and just trying to do good with this music and with myself. It's not easy because there's so many amazing musicians out there. Not even talking about the people from the past or the giants. They're just peers and colleagues of mine. Most of them are, I look at them, I said, wow, and especially living in New York is it's constantly humbling,
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough to go out and hear Kenny Barron bring you back to reality, or Randy
Absolutely.
Weston, or even the younger voices, Craig Taborn, Margot Miller. I had the chance to listen. It's not even about the genre or the style. It doesn't matter that somebody's more experimental or more anchored in the tradition or in the mainstream. This is one thing that you definitely get when you live in New York and when you live in America. Actually, I'm somebody who strives to play this music better and try to be my own man, my own person, if I can say that.
That's great. I like that. That's a great way to kind of wrap everything up. Thank you for taking a minute out for me today and kind of opening up your world and your music. I appreciate it.
Joe, it's a pleasure to talk.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, Romania, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Lucian for his time, honesty, and his stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com. And for all things Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.